What is this?
Company details discriminatory hiring practices. Nobody else is going to tell you this, but they're not considering hiring any white males for the job. Okay, here we go.
There have been times where, there's no way we're hiring a white male.
Just kind of unspoken.
There are times when it's spoken, but
How would they say it?
no way we're hiring a white male.
He's a senior vice president, team lead for Disney.
Yeah.
I mean, of course people do that. Like, it's obvious this has been happening. The whole full video is wild. Really? They said he won't even promote half black people that don't look black enough? Bro, where's this video? There's no shot. What's this?
Yeah.
We wanted to hire somebody in the department a few years ago now, who was half black, but didn't appear half black. And
What the fuck?
there was a creative executive who was like, "We're not that's not what's going
The
on."
channel behind this video does conspiracy theories. Like, I'm not interested in other things that they did. I'm just listening to this.
Michael Giordano, Walt Disney's Senior Vice President of Business Affairs.
I think that if you have it on your LinkedIn profile, it's probably not a lie.
In fact, Michael actually got to experience Disney's discrimination against white males firsthand.
What do you think the competition is?
Oh, I mean, I've been up for jobs internally.
Yeah, this pretty much all stems from wanting diversity. Diversity hires are very much a real thing, because if you have only of one race, well then, oh man, your environment's not inclusive. You get labeled as racist, and then unfortunately, diversity hires take over everything. People who are less qualified get jobs that aren't suited for them just because they want to seem inclusive. And then, white people, hey guys, you can say whatever the fuck you want, but white people are discluded. But it is what it is, you know what I mean? Obviously, anybody defending white people gets shit on by Twitter right now, and that's what they want you to be like. They want you to be afraid of actually talking about, hey man, so white people have issues. But instead they want you to, what they really want you to say is, I'm white, my life is perfect, always is perfect, and I've never had a single issue in my entire life, right? I'm sure if a homeless white man were to complain about losing his jobs and his legs because he served in the war, somebody on Twitter would come up and say, shut the fuck up, you're white. I'm absolutely positive somebody would say that. But yeah, I mean, that's just how it's been. And that's the way it'll continue to be.
Against people who have less experience than me and what haven't gotten.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they were given.
TBH, I always find it concerning. There's always a take on this, but you never comment on any racial disparity otherwise. Wait a minute. When have you ever shown me something and me not making a take on it? I'm actually genuinely curious. When have you ever seen me avoid making a take? Maybe he mentioned it because he's white, so personally experienced what he's talking about? Yeah, would you like me to comment on how to be a black person? Because I'll be real, I think I'm not that good at being black. But I do have experience being white. So let me know. Dude, I hate when people say like this fucking incendiary ass shit like this and then just leave it and walk away. Why even bother typing anything at all if you're not gonna follow up, bro? Cool, anyways.
To somebody else. Do you think it had something to do with their...
One or two cases, I was told very explicitly that it did. Yeah.
Explicitly how? What did they tell you?
I mean, I've been at the company 11 years now, so I have friends in HR and I have friends in the division. They're like, look, nobody else is going to tell you this, Mike, but they're not considering any white males for this job. They're just not.
So this is generally what I think about this. I think that the people that are
Oh, okay. Here we go. I've never heard you share a take on racial disparity unless it's against white people IMO. It's probably because I'm white. Does that make sense? What's an example of racial disparity that you think I should have weighed in on, but I didn't? You talked about black people having it worse in the gotcha space too. Oh, I know. But the problem is that this guy wasn't there for that take, which means it never happened. Because I quite literally did say that as well, right? However, this take is about being white, right? So I am talking about being white here. What is another race that people think have it good in every scenario, no matter what? Do you understand what I'm saying? Right? The reason why I'm talking about this issue is because this issue for this one race has it good no matter what the existence is, no matter what the role is generally the white people that are put on a pedestal and said, yeah, these guys have it good all the fucking time, no matter what, and they have no reason to complain about anything. That's the reason why I'm talking about it, right? I think we all know how hard black people have it already, right? Same thing with Hispanics. I think Asians have it easier in the gadget scene, not gonna lie. Yeah, they do. That's kind of where the demographic comes from. These are, Chinese, Japanese games. Obviously, they'll have an easier time covering those games, right? Hopefully that makes sense. There's a lot of these games that are also only out in China and Japan, and I obviously can't play those games because I don't speak the language. Hopefully one day in the future, all racism ceases to exist. No, it'll always happen. Tribalism will always be a thing, right? It's the same thing where if you were to walk into school and everybody was wearing a black shirt and you were the one guy wearing a blue shirt, you would just get picked on 100%. If everybody in the entire restaurant's eating a burger and then you're eating pizza, well, people are going to call you an idiot, right? Like if every single chat was a green message and then one of them was a red message, people would be shit on 100%. As a Hispanic, I haven't dealt with racism straight to my face yet. Well, I have seen so much that it's fucking ridiculous, bro. Dude, when I went to high school in El Paso, man, that shit was fucking brutal. Anyways.
Obviously writing it off. I think that what he's saying is true. I think that he's telling most of the truth. I would assume that there is probably some degree of exaggeration here, but I do think that most of what he's saying is probably true. His LinkedIn, ever since, got deleted. Yeah, of course he deleted his LinkedIn. Like, of course he did. Like, the girl that he thought he was in a relationship with was actually a reporter. And so, like, of course he would delete this stuff. Probably shouldn't have talked about his job. And he got screwed. You just want to have sex? Ironic? Yeah, there you go.
I mean, yeah, it's just kind of one of those things. I don't want to feel bad for myself. I don't want to feel bad for other people, but it's just one of those fucking things, man. I mean, the world is moving towards forced inclusion, forced diversity, in all shapes of life right now. And a lot of it doesn't fucking make sense. It really, really, really fucking doesn't. And it's making things just feel very woke, very corporate, very forced. And it just makes things a lot less fun. Certain people are receiving jobs they're not qualified for. Other people are being excluded just because of the race they are. And it's just really bad when rather than thinking, okay, I want the person who's best suited for this job. I want the person who's doing this job to do the best out of all the people we hire. But before I find that person, what race is he? It's kind of insane, right? So you're saying that white people are more qualified? Wait, what did you say? So you're saying that white people are more qualified in general? No. What I'm saying is that race shouldn't be taken into consideration when doing hires for a job or a service. Does that make sense? They really shouldn't make it about a race. That whole clip was saying that we are intentionally not including white people because we want to make the space more diverse. But in my opinion, the only thing that you should do is hire people who are best for the job. It's the same thing with Ludwig. People were very upset at Ludwig because there was no females in the fucking speedrunner race. But I'm pretty sure all Ludwig did was just take the best speedrunners he could find and have them play. If people end up all being the same race, if people end up all being the same gender, it is what it is. At the end of the day, you're just finding people who can do a job or a service as best as possible, and you really shouldn't worry about, well, how many women to men are there? Well, how many whites to blacks are there? How many blacks to Hispanics there are? How many whites to Asians are there? Just like let people be people. Because I think the problem is that more that you bring attention to the status quo is the more that you end up, Jesus Christ. The more attention that you bring this issue, the harder it is to maintain the status quo. It's very hard to explain. Let me break this shit the fuck down. So I'm gonna write this down and hopefully this makes sense. When a guy scores a goal in soccer, someone says, man, that was a nice shot. A girl scores, okay, this is very different, okay? A girl scores a goal in soccer. See, ladies, we can do it just like the men. The problem with these statements where they say, see, even a lady can do it, this brings attention to the issue rather than just having it be the status quo. So when you constantly address and you point out the issue, right, and you bring attention to, see, we can do it just like them, it actually has the exact opposite effect rather than just act like it's natural and let people do the roles they're at and say, you're doing a good job doing this role, saying this race can do it just like them, this race can do it just like them. It makes it break away from the status quo rather than just becoming it, if that makes sense. It's like that Overwatch 2 diversity chart. It was so weird. Make characters that are fun, not so they fill diversity quota. Representation's always cool to have, but it's cringe when a character's whole personality is based on that very thing. I know. And you want to know a race that... There's this... Oh, Jesus Christ. We're going to really get into it here. I really don't like when a character's entire personality boils down to, this character is the black guy. This character is the Mexican guy. See that? He's in a mariachi gear. This is the Mexican guy. One of the races that this issue happens with quite frequently is Samoans. I want you to name me a Samoan character where their entire gimmick isn't just they're the Samoan guy. Like, dude, like straight up, here's one, The Rock. Other than that, it's just that. In a video game. Obviously, The Rock's a video game character. He's in real life, guys. Oh, this is a great example. This is a great learning experience. This is a great clip. This is a great clip. This is one of the most... Sonic Boom was way ahead of its time. This is a genius clip.
Can the young woman prove once and for all that a female can be just as good an athlete as a male?
You know, Amy, anytime someone calls attention to the breaking of gender rules, it ultimately undermines the concept of gender equality by implying that this is an exception and not the status quo.
Yeah, what Knuckles said. Does that make sense? It's clearly a very difficult topic to break down, especially when I'm running on 4.5 hours of sleep. Yeah, hopefully that fucking makes sense, right? Yeah.